Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday Spot in the Pagan Perspective. This week we're talking about how we identify ourselves and how we've evolved. This week's topic comes from Tyler, who writes, "Hello everyone, I've been practicing paganism, specifically witchcraft, for about 3 years now. I'm a solitary eclectic practitioner, so I sort of built my practice myself. When I began, I studied Wicca and identified as a Wiccan for a period of time, but that label doesn't really fit me anymore, primarily because I don't celebrate the Sabbats or do any special rites for them. The idea of that never really resonated with me, and my time management skills are mediocre and I would end up forgetting. So my question is sort of a two-part thing." Okay, I'm going to do one question and an answer, then the other question and an answer, because they kind of get involved. The first question is, have your beliefs ever shifted to the point where you felt the need to change how you identify your practice? Absolutely. And let me just say that, for one, I think a lot of people actually start out their practice, whether it just be practicing witchcraft or practicing in any pagan form. I think a lot of people actually start out by identifying more towards Wicca or practicing in a Wiccan type form, when in reality there's a lot of different types, obviously. I think one reason that a lot of us actually start out with a Wiccan type practice is because there's a lot more material out there. There's websites, there's books galore on Wicca, but you don't really start studying different types of witchcraft, such as Kabbalah or Strega or Druidry. I have like umpteen billion different types of paganism in my head right now, and a lot of them are escaping me right now. Anyway, I think the point is made that there are so many different types, but the one that primarily comes to a lot of people whenever they first start out is Wicca, because it is so prevalent. There's so much material out there that it's just easier to find material out there for that. So I think a lot of people actually, whenever we start out, we end up going towards Wicca more because it's just easier to find material out there of how to do that practice. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to make that perfectly clear. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just that for some people we find a home there, and for some people we don't. And that's perfectly fine. Whenever I first started out, and I've shared this before on this channel and on my personal channel, I did more of a ceremonial Wicca-based practice, and I mixed it a lot with Christianity, because as a Christian witch or a Christian Wiccan or a Christo-pagan, at any juncture of that point, I've always had that underpinning of as Christ as my deity. So I always had that underpinning of, this is what I believe, and what does that mean to me, and how will it evolve? For me, and you guys know this if you've been watching for any period of time, know that I absolutely hate labels. And labels can be a good thing. At least for me, though, I find them kind of constrictive. I find the one that gives me the most accurate portrayal of what I believe and who I am is Christo-pagan, because it's just the closest to what I believe, and it provides the best jumping off point to saying, okay, not only is this what I believe, but this is also what I believe here, here, and here, and here. That at least gives a general jumping off point. So if Wicca is not a label for you, that's fine. If paganism is one thing that identifies you as, okay, I'm an eclectic pagan, okay, that gives a lot of people, at least in the witchy community, a place of, okay, I kind of know where you're starting from, and we can talk about it from there on, where you're coming from. So yes, I've totally had that where I've shifted from Christian Wicca to Christo-paganism, and had those points in between where, one label doesn't identify me, and even Christopaganism doesn't fully identify me, but it's the best label to give people a starting off point of knowing where I'm coming from. Another thing I want to say about labels is if you don't want to use them at all, that's fine too. I am a big proponent of labels are for soup cans. You guys have heard me say this before if you've watched for any period of time. I actually had at work, this was probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago, where I was making an offhanded comment about somebody, doing their job and saying that was against their beliefs. But the other guy was chuckling, and he said, "You know what do you believe?" And I told him, and I didn't give him a label, I didn't give him any of that. I said, "That's a very complicated question, and it's a very involved answer. Certainly not something in the setting that we were in. We were in a vehicle going from the job that we were completing, going back to our shop. So definitely not enough of a time frame in 5 minutes to tell you all of what I believe." So he kind of at that point just dropped it altogether, and we haven't really readdressed the issue, which is fine. I don't see the point in having to explain myself to anybody, especially in my day-to-day life. And yeah, basically whenever I do videos or whenever I interact with people in the community, I give them the point of, here's a starting point of where I'm coming from, and from there we'll discuss it. Especially in the witchy community, because people actually have the willingness to sit down and listen to where you're coming from, more than people in the mundane world, the muggles out there, I guess you would call them. So I hope that answers the first question. The second question is, do any of you focus less on the Wheel of the Year and more on some other facet of paganism? Yes and no. I celebrate the Wheel of the Year, but I don't normally celebrate it on the day itself. I haven't done a full-blown ritual like I've done in the past. Probably the first 2 years of my practice, I did a full-blown ritual, didn't miss a Sabbat, and I was all gung-ho for the next one. But then whenever my practice started evolving and becoming more about, okay, what does this mean for me here, and what does this mean for me there, it started to become less about these specific days in the turning of the wheel, and more about the actual season. Like right now, I am still celebrating the season of Yule. I more celebrate the turning of the seasons, the turning of the wheel in its entirety, not necessarily the turning of one day. So for me, the season of Yule is more than just December 21st, 22nd, that time frame of when the winter solstice is, and it goes on throughout until I reach Imbolc. So for me, I do celebrate the seasons or the turning of the wheel more than I celebrate the actual Sabbats. And that's actually something I learned from Annie. Whenever she talked about celebrating the season of Imbolc or of Yule or of Samhain, rather than just the Sabbats, because it's an ongoing time. So that's kind of something I learned from Annie, and I haven't really heard it much in literature and other teachings as much as I heard it from her. And if you hear something outside, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, as far as anything else in paganism that I focus more on than the Wheel of the Year, absolutely. It's kind of like, I guess, picking out which one is your favorite child. You can't really do it. And if you admit to doing one or the other, kind of makes you feel bad for the other ones that you didn't pick. I can't really necessarily say that the turning of the wheel doesn't have any significance, because it really does, but I can't say that it is my favorite thing to study in my practice, because there's a lot of other things, and that goes too with the evolving of my practice and the evolving of me as a person, focusing on one thing or another. So for me, everything has a time, a season, and it all turns like the turning of the wheel. So I hope that all made sense. I hope I didn't just ramble. And I must say that there are some fantastic topics that are coming for the 2017 year so far that Cara has shared with us. So I'm really jazzed. I'm going to be doing some pre-recordings for those videos, because if you watch my personal channel, or I think I might have posted this on Twitter. If you follow me on there, I probably did already post it. But I will be moving out of Korea back to the United States, to Florida in particular. And I will be moving around. I'll be getting everything together around the end of February. So I will be pre-recording some videos ahead of time, so that whenever that time comes, I'm not bogged down by videos and everything else all at the same time. Yeah, I think I said all that I needed to say, and I think that's all. Again, I wish you all a happy 2017, happy New Year, and yeah, I think that's it. So until next time, may you have a great day and a better tomorrow, and may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.